All right, so the first thing I'm going to ask for is I'm going to ask that you select, let's say you select your name, then you go to handouts, and then trig table. So on your OneNote, that's basically how it's going to end up being. So you select your name, handouts, trig table. And you're going to leave that on your desk, and then you're going to have your notes at the same time. So we're going to need them both. Okay? So basically, that means I would start with name, handout, trig table, and all of this is on the OneNote. But as soon as you've done that, also have your notebook or your notes or your paper in front of you too, because we're going to use them together. Okay? If you don't have paper, like a notebook, you don't have your notebook and you need paper, raise your hand so I can make some available for you. So let's start with that. Si no tienen sus notas, tienen su libreto, las páginas, el papel, pueden hacer la mano, les puede dar, pueden decir. Anybody else go quick before I all right. It doesn't really get that instructive. So it doesn't really get that instructive. All right. So those of you who may have just come in, you'll click on your name, handouts, trig table, and you'll see this item here. Okay? And it's going to be a very quick review of something we already talked about, but we never finished it because last week, if you remember, we had to do that testing. We didn't finish that testing. There are still students who need to do it, but they will go ahead and finish it maybe tomorrow. All right, so Andrew on your computer, click name, handouts, and then trig table for the OneNote. Okay. And then if you have your notebook, have that on. All right, so with all of that being said, let's move on. So the first thing I want to do today is I want to practice how to use it. So for this first part, don't write anything down. Así que para esta sección no van a tener que escribir nada, solamente quiero ver que si saben cómo usarlo para el trabajo que vamos a hacer hoy. So I'm going to start like this. I'm going to write it down so that you can have something to see, but you don't have to copy anything, okay? So the first thing I'm going to say, let me adjust this real quick. All right. So then the first thing I'm going to say is, suppose that I want the sine of 30 degrees. Based on the chart, let me fix that because it's going to be too small otherwise. Let me fix that. And I'm going to change it. Again, you're not writing anything down right now. I'm just going to put it like this. Suppose I actually want the sine of 10 degrees. How much is that? You better remember how to use it. How much would be the sine of 10 degrees? Okay. So then I have sine, I have 10, and I go straight right here, and I have that number. So if I want this one here, then I just have to look on the sine, I have to look on the 10, and then together, that gives me my number. So easily, that now becomes 0.1736. Now here's the part I want you to kind of switch. What if, on the other hand, I say that I want the sine, and I tell you that this sine is going to be like that. What if I say I have the sine of something and it's already this number? Like they already gave me the number. So in this situation, what I have to do is I have to look on the sine and I have to find something that is close to 0.35. Okay? So if that's the case, I take a look. 0, 3, 0, 5, 15, 20, 25, 30, 34, 35. So when this gives me 0.35, how many degrees is that? So when I look here and I find 0.35, that's the closest one to 0.35. So then this is the sine, and so I have to find it right here, 21. And so all of a sudden right here, this will be equal to 21 degrees. That's the one that is closest to 0.035. Does that switch make sense? In other words, if I give you the number, we go this way. If I give you the answer, we go the opposite way. So with the first one, with this one, we went in this direction. We started here and we went that way. But with the second example, we started here and we went this way. So we went backwards. Does that kind of make sense? Más o menos se entiende. Que depende de lo que me están dando, me voy a ir en una dirección o la opuesta. Okay. So let's try one more. What if I say I want the cosine of 49 degrees? If I say I want the cosine of 49 degrees, how much is that? So because this says cosine, I have to look here. So how much is it if it's 49 degrees? Anybody see it? Yep. So I see it right here. And so I say 0.6561. If I then change it and I say that I have the cosine, I don't know the angle, I change it, I don't know the angle, and I say that this is going to be about 0.50. If I then change the order and I'm still looking at the cosine, I'm still looking here, right? And so 0.5, I'm being told is here. But then that means this time I'm going to go ahead and do exactly what I was told. So here, theta is approximately 60 degrees. Pero observa el cambio. Aquí ya tengo el ángulo, así que al tener el ángulo de 49, solamente busco sobre el coseno. Aquí no tengo el ángulo, lo estoy buscando, pero me dieron la aproximación. Esta aproximación aquí está. Y como esta es la aproximación, la más cercana a .50, me voy ahora a buscar el ángulo que me da los 60. Eso depende de lo que me dan, o estoy empezando con el número para terminar con la aproximación, o estoy empezando con la aproximación para terminar con el número. So depending on what they give me, I'm either going to start with the angle, they gave me the angle, I do the approximation, or I start with the approximation, go backwards, and do the angle. Okay? And it always works out. Okay? Last one, just to kind of have them all. What if I say I want the tangent of 15? So for the tangent of 15, I'm going to start here. But I have to look at the tangent, and the tangent is here. So how much is going to be the tangent at 15? .2679. Right? Does that kind of make some sense? It is. But the problem is knowing where to look, and that sometimes is difficult. So what if I now say I want the tangent of theta, and I say that this time it's equal to 0.24. How much is theta? Okay, so I see 24 and I see 14. So here, 14 degrees. And that's basically what it looks like. The stuff we're going to do today, a lot of it is this kind of information. Así que poder variar dentro de estos números es básicamente el trabajo principal de hoy. Okay. So now, if you have your notebook, para los que tienen sus notas, vamos a comenzar con lo siguiente. I'm going to move away from this. And we're going to be using this. So have this in your screen. En su pantalla de computadora, eso es lo que tienen que ver. Y tienen su página de frente. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start like this. And up here, I'm going to call it trigonometry functions. And on purpose, write it like this. And this is the part that I care about, so this is more important than the other stuff. Now, as of today, anytime that you see S, that is going to be the sign. It looks like sin, that's how we usually write it, but it's called the sign. This one over here, this is going to be called the opposite. And this is going to be called the hypotenuse. When I switch it around and I go to the next one over here, this one is going to be my cosine. And this A is going to have a new word called adjacent. H doesn't change, it's still the hypotenuse. And then the last one is T, which is going to be a word called tangent, with the opposite. And the adjacent. So these are the three pieces. Most of the time, you're going to see the sign written like this. The cosine, you'll see that written like this. And then last but not least, the tangent will be like this. And they will always look the same way. Once you have it like that and you've set it up with the three parts, I'm going to put a little note right here. And that's going to be that this is going to be pronounced theta, and it's an angle. So I'm going to call that theta, and theta is an angle. The other crazy thing about it too is that if I now have this word adjacent, that is fancy language for next to. We don't say the word adjacent. We don't really use that word. It's like I can come around and technically if I wanted to, I can say I am adjacent to. But we don't speak that way. Not in regular language, not in everyday language. Most of the time I would say I am right next to, and I would say I'm right next to the person, or I'm right next to the table, or I'm right next to the wall. I would say it that way. That's the kind of like everyday language. But in the mathematics, we're going to change this to the word adjacent, and it's like fancy language for I'm right next to it. In this case, it has to be right next to the angle. En español, esta palabra sería adyacente. Y está, significa que está al lado. Y cuando digo que está al lado de usualmente un ángulo. All right, last thing. Last thing with this is I'm going to draw two triangles about the same size, and it's going to look like this. With 90 degrees. Then I'm going to draw another one down here that is going to be about the same size. .90 degrees. que voy a tener dos triángulos más o menos del mismo tamaño. The only difference between them is that on this one, I am going to purposely put in the angle theta here. And on this one, I'll put the angle theta there. So the position of the angle is going to change. As soon as I see that it's here, I'm going to make an arrow across like that. But on the second picture, I'm going to make an arrow across like that. And it's supposed to be pretty much the same picture. Okay, so it's not like I have a different picture. It's supposed to be pretty much the same. As soon as I go across, this one will be the opposite. That means that it's on the opposite side of this angle. When I change the picture, that now means I'm going to go this way. This is now the opposite. So the opposite of this picture depends on where the angle is. So if my angle is up here, then the opposite is here. If the angle is there, then the opposite is there. Okay. The second thing is, if I have the 90 degrees, I jump over from the 90 degrees, and this is still going to be the hypotenuse. 90 degrees, I jump over to the 90 degrees, and this is still going to be the hypotenuse. The only thing that never changes is the hypotenuse. Kind of like Pythagorean theorem. Remember how we had a squared, b squared, c squared? A and b could be like almost anywhere, but c, which was the hypotenuse, was always in one spot. The same thing's happening here. So I got opposite, I got hypotenuse. What am I missing? What word am I still missing? Out of any of the words that I have here, which one is still not there? A, which is going to become my adjacent. So here, el que falta, el que está junto a este ángulo, the one right next to this angle, adjacent. Here on this picture, next to, adjacent is now down here. Same words, different position, only because I'm looking at it in a different direction. So I have to kind of remove or kind of move around my angles so that it's in the right place. Okay. Now, last week, I gave you guys a page that looked like this, and I told you to hang on to it because there was notes. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. But if you happen to have the page from last week, it was just a bunch of little triangles. And if you happen to have that page, please look for it and take it out if you have it. If not, don't worry, I have copies for anybody who might need it. I'm sure like this. I'm going to give you this right now. If you happen to have a copy, no worries. You don't need to use it. If you don't have a copy, then I'm giving you one right now, so you can have one in front of you. Yep. Double check. And I'll give you a copy regardless, in case you need it. I'm not sure if everybody got it. Just in case, I'm going to give you this. I don't think everybody has it for some reason. It was kind of mixed. Not everybody was here. All right. By a show of hands, who needs more time to copy this? Okay. Go ahead. That way I ask first so I don't have to switch it. And I know that today, a lot of you are feeling it. because that whole change of schedule in the weekend, that really messes people up. All right, so what's going to happen right now is that I'm going to show you the stuff we already did. Excuse me. Some of you have it. Some of you have it, some of you don't. If you don't have it, you'll end up having a chance to copy it. And if you do have it, then you're good. You'll move on to the next section. Anybody else still need time? You good? All right. So it would have looked like this. And I am going to purposely get rid of this because we don't need this. But these are the first two, 1 and 3. If you don't have the page, then basically you can copy it. If you do have the page, you should already have it. And if you already have it, you're going to move on to the other one. Así que si ya tienen una copia de esta información, van a hacer lo mismo para las que restan, para las secciones que restan. Y ahorita yo voy a pasar básicamente a ayudar a los que necesitan. For everybody though, I'm going to ask you to add this. Para todos les voy a pedir que hagan lo siguiente. En este espacio aquí arriba, and that little space right there, add this. And think about it this way. Whenever it's sine, I want opposite hypotenuse. Opposite hypotenuse. Whenever it's cosine, I want A and H as adjacent and hypotenuse. So on number 3, I don't have this, but I have A and H. So that's kind of how I decide which one I want. If I have tangent, I want O with A. So whatever opposite is, whatever the adjacent is. Okay. Right now, if you don't have a copy of this, please copy it. Add that little detail at the very top. It's just going to be like a way of remembering. And for those of you who already have it, see if you can try one of the other ones. You're going to need the chart on your computer, and you're going to need your times tables. So if you have it on your phone, you can do the division on your phone, and you start setting it up. So see if you can do that. Some of you already have certain pieces done because you were already getting used to it.